under the same roof, we share the love. Embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. And now do we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Legal Review. I'm your host, and tonight we're breaking down a rapidly changing world order across the globe. Power is shifting fast. Russia, China, Venezuela, one by one, long-standing things are changing, and Donald Trump is coming out on top. The message going out to the world is you don't want to mess with Donald Trump. You do not want to mess with him. He will ruin your day and your career. And if you mess around, you might be sitting in the jailhouse in the federal courthouse in Brooklyn, just like Maduro. Tonight, we're going to bring on Calvin Johnson, a key member to the team, and his slogan is, "They won't let me out." Perhaps that's what Maduro is saying tonight. We got to ask Calvin, what's going on? Calvin, they won't let him out.
Hey, man, I don't even know if I can get Maduro out, man. I mean, he is really going through it. This is extremely interesting. I don't think anybody saw this coming. I mean, we knew that there was some angst and some disagreements with Venezuela, and we know that there were some arguments and things that were kind of going in the wrong direction. But we would have probably never guessed that they would go into their country, arrest him and his wife, and basically charge them with American crimes and basically overthrow their government, if we're being honest. So this is extremely interesting. You know, from a president who said he wasn't going to get us involved in any needless wars, and I don't know. Like, this is kind of funny. I mean, I got my opinions on it. I understand Maduro and I understand how bad he was for Venezuela. But when you do something like this, you can't tell everybody else in the world what to do. So this is the stability or the instability that comes with electing somebody like Mr. Trump.
But Calvin, what about BRICS? They were a part of BRICS. BRICS is supposed to save you from the Donald Trumps of the world. What happened? Can you also break down BRICS for those who don't understand?
That's the union of different countries where if you are a member of that union, if something happens, they're actually supposed to come to your aid if a foreign government decides to go in and do something. And in this situation, and the help did not come. And this is a very, very interesting shift of power. And it changed the world's dynamics completely when you go in and do something like this. And this is the concern that I always have when you have somebody like Donald Trump. He sees the now, he sees the oil, he sees the way that we can benefit from it right now. But the instability that this will cause, the ramifications will be years and decades of retributions and effects because of the actions that were taken recently by our country against Venezuela.
Now, if you're a big country like Russia, perhaps you go to Venezuela and say, listen, we're here. If you join BRICS, we have your back. We can keep the man off your shoulders, right? Mm-hmm. But in this case, it did not save. The United States was able to go in. Even I think he had just had a meeting with China. Mm-hmm. Russia is on the ground, posted up, and the United States went in and took the president out. What do you say about that?
See, that's the dangerous part. What if one of these big countries decide to retaliate? What if a Russia or a China or another country decides, hey, we can't let y'all just do that. We got to do something about it. And right now, of course, America, we got all the weapons, we got all the power, man. But listen, I mean, when you do something like this, it's very dangerous. You got to be extremely careful because there can be long-ranging ramifications from your actions based on what you just did today. I mean, this is scary for me. And furthermore, we're not even talking about the American government ramifications of what he is doing. He didn't ask Congress. He didn't ask any other branch, the judicial branch. He just went in and did what he wanted to do, basically overthrowing another government. And that's concerning for me a little bit because you're wielding a lot of power when you do that and nobody says anything. And his Republican cohorts and the people in the Republican Party, they're weak and feeble. They're not going to say a thing. So that's what I get concerned about.
All right. Mashona says, Calvin, is it legal what they did?
Well, it just depends on who you ask, right? Mr. Trump is going to say that they were criminals, that they had committed offenses against the United States in terms of allowing drugs to flow freely into our country, causing all kind of havoc and death based on the free flow of the drugs into our nation. And so they're going to say that they were justified in going in and taking that leader out. However, I just don't know, to me, if that's legal, because you have a duly elected official in another country and you basically overthrew their government. And instead of really saying it's about the drugs, which if it was about the drugs, then you wouldn't have pardoned another leader, I guess, from Honduras or some other country that got life. You pardoned him and he did as much damage as Maduro. But now you're talking about the oil, and now you're talking about going in and running their government, and you're talking about taking their oil. And you got to be extremely careful when you start doing stuff like this. And I don't think it's legal. But with that being said, who's going to say something about it?
Right. When they asked Donald Trump who's running the country, basically, in so many words, he said he was. He said, "Hey, I have a group," and then he says, "Oh, it's these guys behind me, the same guys that are running the United States, pretty much."
Look,
right?
man, hey, imagine in the movie Friday if there was no Craig willing to fight Debo, and that's kind of what you got right now. You got a Debo, and there's no Craig around willing to fight him. And that's a concerning moment. And look, we're American citizens and we understand this. And I'm not against my own government. Let's make that clear. But I am concerned about the way that things are done, not going to Congress, involving us in a potential conflict with another country that could escalate and cause, number one, our own military to have to respond on a consistent basis. And you can start, if we get into a war, you start drafting people. Now you're affecting everybody. So those are things that are very, very concerning to me.
Right. Does it basically show that the United States is pretty much running things right now, even when it comes to Russia and China? At the end of the day, America has the strength.
They do have the strength. There's only, China may have some kind of capabilities to try to deal with us, but we're more technologically advanced than they are. I think Russia, even though they claim to have the might, from what I hear, their weapons are old. They're already engaged in a conflict with Ukraine. They don't want to be fighting Ukraine and dealing with us. So they're not really there to really create any resistance. They're more concerned about Moscow and getting what they want to get out of the Ukraine. And I'm going to tell you, the concerning part that I have for this is because we are having this conflict with Venezuela, how willing will Trump be or the American public be to aid in Ukraine when we already have an issue with Venezuela as it is? This is very earth-shattering what Mr. Trump just did. on several levels. It's earth-shattering on an international level, and it's earth-shattering on an American government level because he didn't ask anybody. He just went and did it. And that's very, 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 very concerning.
When Donald Trump became president the second time around, he said he didn't know anything about Project 2025. And then shortly thereafter, he started using the talking points. Do you think that Venezuela was a part of the game before he even took office?
I don't know, but I will tell you, he's probably been looking at Venezuela for a while because they have a lot of natural resources per oil, and they're not stable. And because of the way their leader conduct business, there's not going to be a lot of protection to him because Venezuelans as a whole are starving and he's making all of this money. And so it was ripe for it to happen to Venezuela. I just didn't think we would do it the way we just did it. And it's still very, very concerning to me. I mean, doing stuff like this without going and getting any approval from Congress, without anybody in your party saying anything about it, kind of scary, actually.
Do you think it's possible that the United States beat Russia to the draw, or maybe Russia just stood back and said, we don't want to fight this battle right now?
Russia's not going to do anything because Ukraine is giving them all they want, right? Ukraine is literally fighting for their existence. And if you know Eastern Europeans, man, hey, they're not bowing down. I mean, they'll fight to the death because the existence of their people is important. So Russia and the Ukraine's not bowing down. I mean, you think about the might of Russia and the smallness of Ukraine, and look how long Ukraine has lasted in this conflict. I don't think Russia has any appetite to try to fight any other wars for any other countries. They're more concerned with trying to deal with Ukraine and try to get out of that unscathed and get the land that they want. I don't think that they're equipped to fight on two different fronts.
Okay. All right, says Delcy Rodriguez put in position.
What do you mean Delcy Rodriguez put in position?
I guess Venezuela, yeah.
Put in position for what? It seems like Mr. Trump is doing whatever he wants to do, and he's going to tell her what to do. That's what I get concerned about. It looks like to me that they better do what Mr. Trump tells them to do, and if they don't, he just won't pay attention to them. He'll tell his people to go do whatever they want. He wants them to do.
Okay. We have very good. We have close to 500 people. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Rick Young says one thing that Maduro was a house for rent, that Venezuela was selling oil, but they weren't using the US dollar.
When you stop using the US dollar, you're creating a problem because that's the currency that everybody trades in. And so, once again, if you're Maduro, you decided to make a choice in doing something. And when you start making moves like that, it's not going to end well. It's not going to be easy. It's just not. And you got to really start thinking about what you're doing when you're dealing with a Donald Trump. He's a different breed. He's a different kind of guy. And then when you start not doing business in the American dollar, you might have a problem. The last person to try to do something and not use the American dollar and try to come up with his own currency was Muammar Gaddafi. And you see what happened to him. He literally was dragged to death, pummeled to death, and just beat to a bloody pulp in public. And so I want you to think about, if you're a leader of another country and you decide to try to not do business in the US dollar, or to try to, do business in another currency when you're dealing with oil, you got to know what the history is behind that.
What do you say for the people that say this is all about a distraction from the Epstein files?
I am concerned about that because it does take the conversation away from Epstein. I don't think Mr. Trump is beyond being smart enough to do something like this, to get the conversation away from Epstein, because right now from what we're being told, we were very, very close to having the Epstein explosion of information. And then this happens. And this is so shocking for a lot of people that we don't even want to talk about Epstein anymore. We're trying to figure out, hey, did we just get ourselves involved in another war? Is there going to be retribution against America because of the actions of our president? Were the actions of our president even legal? That's what I'm concerned about.
Okay, so tomorrow I will be in court for Maduro's case, starting off his arraignment or what have you. What should we expect with that?
They will arraign him on the charges. His lawyer, they'll probably give him one or he'll get one hired, will probably plead not guilty. And then they're going to hold him because they're going to say, of course, the kind of leader he is, they're going to hold him. They're not going to give him a bond and let him loose. The government is going to request that he stay in custody because what he's charged with carries a certain amount of time. And because it carries so much time, the lawyer for him would have to prove that there are other reasons why he should be released. And the government doesn't have to do anything. And I don't think a lawyer is going to be able to show the benefit of Maduro being released. So
Okay.
He's going to remain in custody.
So let me ask you a question. Donald Trump had the military out there dropping explosives on the boats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based on what he did, what stops Russia, China, some other country from coming to arrest him, right? The same way that he did with Maduro. Like, there's no barrier for that?
I don't think he's scared of China or Russia coming over here to try to do that because he feels like we would blow them to smithereens. And the problem is that right now you're the biggest bully on the block. You're Debo and there's no Craig to fight you right now. But I get concerned that you got to be careful because there's other ways right now to fight the bully. You know, we always talk biblically and we're talking about David and Goliath and the slingshot. What a slingshot now can be a chemical weapon. The slingshot now can be a drone. I mean, I want you to think about those things that you can do. I remember there was a movie with Morgan Freeman in it. And basically, there was a drone attack on the person who played the president in the movie. I can't remember the name of the movie. But when you start looking at stuff like this, and, you know, Hollywood's been pretty good about predicting what could happen. I mean, this president could be subjected to not just a regular attack coming from a major, larger country. If a small group of people with drones or chemical warfare type weapons can get in his vicinity, that could be a huge problem. And see, when I see stuff like this is when I get concerned. Somebody could try to unleash chemical weapons or drone attacks on our government or on certain government officials and could put our whole country in disarray. And when you do something like go into another country and you take their leader out and his wife, and you bring them to an American court, and you go out and say, yeah, we're going to take their oil. We might just run the country until we decide if the people they're strong enough. Man, let me tell you, people start looking at you differently. They start looking at you like it's not a matter of if he's going to do that to us. It's a matter of when he's going to do that to us. And if it's only a when he's going to do that to us, we could open ourselves to a lot of danger and attacks from other countries and either other terrorist organizations or either other organizations because of what just happened.
All right. In 2019, I was coming home and I got caught into this big tornado, right? And I tried to get into my house. I opened the door, was able to get in after a lot of fighting, right? Once I got in the house, I couldn't close the door. There was some sort of vacuum happening. I was struggling. Basically, that's how the United States government or the military caught Maduro. They said he was trying to close his safe door, and they got in on him before he could even do it, before he could pull it shut. Like, that takes a lot of preparation and science, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it does. Because if he gets to that safe door, you're not getting in there.
Really?
Yeah, and not only that, because you don't want to, if you only way you can get in there for some ways, you have to blow the thing up to be able to get him again, and then you're going to kill him. Now you're killing a world leader. And then while he's in there, he can jump on the phone somehow, or somebody can jump on the phone and say, hey, America's attacked us. A, B, and C, and D, and E are happening. That could be a very dicey situation. I'm just really concerned about the way we just did what we just did. And people are acting like, oh, it's a great show of strength by our president. It's a great show of strength by our government. Man, they're going to be long-ranging ramifications of what he just did.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. When it comes to the United States of America, we have the Democrats. There are so many people online pushing back on Donald Trump and what occurred, right? You see that everywhere you go. So what do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to try to use this to impeach him, or do you think they're just hyping up the situation, just barking up the wrong tree?
His Republicans don't have any heart in terms of trying to fight him. Like they don't have any big ones, if you know what I'm talking about, in terms of fighting him. They don't have the heart. So they'll never impeach him. The Democrats, on the other hand, a lot of them will probably be split between wanting to impeach him or thinking that that's a waste of time, that they need to focus on trying to get him not elected. And that's the concern I have. And even when it comes to Democrats, who's going to be strong enough to stand up to this man and fight him? It's not the Republicans. Will the Democratic Party stand up and actually try to do something about what just happened? And I don't know if today's Democratic Party or the majority of them will want to do that. There are a lot of them that are strong, that are progressive, that will be very aggressive in terms of wanting to go against Trump. But unfortunately, the Republican Party, because they hold all the majorities, they should be saying something, but they will not. And the Democrats really are focusing on trying to have him not elected. I don't know if they want to go down the impeachment train when the economy's so bad. So I just don't know what's going to happen, man. This is going to be very interesting.
I should say so. But the timing of the Epstein files, when 1 million records are about to come out, it has to be tied together in some way. In fact, Maduro is going through the same court system that Epstein was unalived in. How ironic is that?
It's very ironic. And what you just said, 1 million files are found that they're going to have to release, that nobody has got a chance to really get their eyes on and talk about. And I always tell people, there seems to be this attitude that Mr. Trump doesn't know how it works, and he doesn't know how the government works, and he doesn't understand separation of power, and he doesn't understand this and that. And I think that's a bunch of BS. I think he understands all of it. I don't think he cares about it. I don't think he cares about any of that. He doesn't care about how this country's been ran the last 250 years. He doesn't care. He sees the way he's doing things to a means to an end. And he sees a weak and feeble Republican Party who will not say anything against anything that he does as them being complicit in terms of what he is doing.
Right. But what do you think about the fact that for so many years, a lot of Americans have followed the Democrats, right? And now we're at a crucial point, all of these items, these hot topics we're talking about, and there's no distinct leader.
And see, that's the concern that I have. And that's the concern I've had even about politics, because for the most part, I had been Democrat the majority of my life. I'm probably still considered to be a Democrat, but I'm not one of those that's going to go beating the drum for the Democrats right now, because I feel like a lot of things that were promised have not been done. I feel like there needs to be a change in leadership, and I think that the leadership that sits in there right now is too old. They need to go sit down. They need to do something different. And I don't think that they're delivering like they're supposed to, especially in times like this. I mean, who is that leader that's going to stand up to Donald Trump right now? I mean, you got some people. You got Gavin Newsom. He's went after Jasmine Crockett. And she stood up to him, and she's going back at him. You got Hakeem Jeffries, who's been doing a really good job recently in terms of certain things, making certain things happen. But is he the guy that's going to stand up to Mr. Trump? I just don't see a clear leader that everybody can get behind and say he's going to be the guy. Will that be Gavin Newsom? Maybe. Will it be Hakeem Jeffries? Maybe. I just don't know. I think the rest of the party, like even the people who support Jasmine Crockett, and I'll tell you, I know Miss Crockett, I've worked with her. There's even sections of the party that wants to split itself with that. But at the same time, at least she speaks up and she does stand up against him. And I can give her that, because there are a lot of Democrats that will shy away from that fight. She stepped up. But what are the Democrats going to do? How are they going to approach Mr. Trump and trying to oppose Mr. Trump? They need new, strong, and invigorized leadership. And I don't know if they have that in one person yet. And I think that they need that. And it needs to be somebody new. I don't think it can be somebody that's been there for a while.
Now, if Donald Trump was a meme, I think he would be the meme. F around and find out. I think he set his pace as the guy in the world. And if you want trouble, come and get it.
Exactly. I think that's what it is. He's that meme. He's that guy. If you want smoke, I'm sending out smoke signals. If you want smoke, I'm giving you Swisher Sweets. I mean, if you want smoke, I got all the smoke. But it's one of those things, that's just what it is. Somebody, I'm looking in the comments. Calvin, have you ever met President Trump? I've been in the room with him once at the NBA draft when I worked for Bosch, because he always shows up at Madison Square Garden. I've never met Mr. Trump. So that's the thing.
Yes, indeed. Donald Trump basically has put the message out there: I will come and get you in your cozy little couch if need be, right?
Exactly. And you got somebody, you got a lot of comments about go Trump, go, and this and that. Well, like I tell you, right now you might be saying that, but there are going to be consequences for what we just did. There's going to be ramifications for what we just did. And at the end of the day, you got to start thinking about the long-term effects. I'm more concerned about this economy. I don't give a darn about what's happening in Venezuela, to be honest with you. Is what's happening in Venezuela going to help us pay our bills? Is what's happening in Venezuela going to make this economy better, where people stop losing jobs? Is Venezuela going to help us figure out what's going on with these damn Epstein files? If they're not, I really don't care about what's happening over there to that level. I'm not saying I don't care about what's happening over there. It's very unfortunate that whatever is happening or has to happen. But I'm more concerned about America, Americans, our economy, and what's going on with these Epstein files and what's going on with our economy and all these job losses that are happening.
Margaret Green, basically, she came forward and she said Donald Trump told her, basically, when they had a good friendship, that the reason why he was afraid of the Epstein files is because he was concerned that some of his friends would get hurt, not necessarily that he was worrying about himself. What do you think about that?
I would imagine there are a number of people who have given him money, who he's friends with, who he's hung out with, who he has deep, probably decade-long relationships with, are going to be in those files. I mean, as you see the pictures coming out, you see a lot of pictures with Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein. You see some with Mr. Clinton, and you see some with Steve Bannon, but you see a lot of pictures with Trump and Epstein. And I'm not saying that somebody's guilty because of the pictures, but there are a lot of pictures of him and Epstein.
Okay. Calvin, take a moment and tell everyone what you do and a little bit about yourself.
My name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I'm a 24-year practicing attorney in Dallas, Texas. I'm licensed here in Texas. I also do local, state, and federal law. I've been involved in several federal law cases, criminal cases, RICOs, all kind of federal cases. I hold 2 degrees from Howard Payne University in political science and history, double major. And I hold a law degree from St. Mary's University School of Law. And even back in high school, I attended the High School for Public Services, Government and Law. So for the last 40 years, 45 years, I have been involved in the law and government. And I've been trained to be able to deal with those things. I'm also a former Dallas City Council candidate. And I am a community leader with a foundation called Sarum Foundation, where we do neighborhood cleanups and we help our senior citizens get their properties up to code. So we do a lot of community work with the children as well as our seniors in my community. So that's kind of what I do. And I have been practicing law for 24, going on 25 years now.
All right. Well said. They're saying that Hakeem Jeffries is the Timu Barack Obama. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think he's doing what he can. He's done some things. He got the situation where he were able to get the votes on the healthcare, so that was good for him. He's trying to do what he can, but he is battling an uphill battle right now. He's doing what he can, but I think that unfortunately, the checking of Donald Trump probably should come from some in his own party, but they don't have enough heart to do it. They'll just do whatever he tells them to do, regardless.
Right. Do you think J.D. Vance could stand a chance of being as powerful as Donald Trump?
I don't know if he can. I think, and people say this, and I want to make it a race thing, but I think they will give him and his wife a hard time because she's not traditional in terms of the Christian faith. So I think the people on MAGA won't kowtow to that. And I don't think J.D. Vance has the support, and I don't think he has the pull and the charisma to have the kind of power that Mr. Trump has.
Okay. Why do you think the world or the United States has never really gravitated to Bernie Sanders? He seems to have some solid policies. He came out this week and said, hey, listen, AI is going to destroy the job market and so forth. What do you think?
I think he's almost too progressive for some. I think he wants to do some things that a lot of people will consider be giving stuff away as opposed to making people work for it. And I think some of the policies are not as free market as some may want it to be. And I think that's a big deal for people, and that's why they will not support Bernie Sanders and his policies a lot. I think there's a big wing of the party that will support that, but the majority of the Democrats as well as independents are not going for a lot of the socialism type things that he supports.
Do you think it's fair to say that Donald Trump is above the law? Remember, I went to his trial in New York. The president was walking right past me. I sat there, listened to it. He received 34 felonies and became the president. How can you top that?
He is above the law. Nobody can check him. No matter what he does, he can do whatever he wants. His party's not going to say anything. The Democrats are not strong enough to say anything. He can do whatever he wants. And we need to just be honest about that and realize that this man can do whatever he wants. Nobody's going to check him. Nobody's going to step up and say anything about whatever it is he's doing. They're just not.
Right. Do you think the Democrats regret now putting men and girls locker rooms and bathrooms? And do you think that's one of the main reasons? And also on the border, remember Kamala basically said that she was okay with Joe Biden's policies, and people really turned their nose at that, right?
Yeah, that was a mistake. I'll say that was a huge mistake for 2 reasons. Number one, the border situation, they couldn't handle it a worse way, and they did not handle it properly. They just did not. That was a point where a lot of Americans, Democrats, independents, and Republicans saying, hey, man, you just can't let people run over here, and then we got to start paying for them. That's people just not going to go for that. I mean, they should have realized, took the temperature of the voting electorate and said, yeah, we got to stop doing that. So that was mistake number one. Mistake number two is a lot of the transgender stuff. There are some people that I know, as in people in the LGBTQ community, right? Or AA, whatever, however they want to say that with all the letters. I don't want to disrespect anybody. I don't know all the letters all the time. So what happens is I even had people that were in that community that say, hey, they're taking that too far. I had several people tell me they should not be competing in men's sports. They should not be in those restrooms. That shouldn't happen. And so you even have people in their movement that say, hey, this is too much. And I think that the Democratic Party did not listen enough. And more importantly, I have conversations with people. I always bring up my legal assistant. We have some great conversations. I hope she's watching tonight. But sometimes I'm like, it may not matter to you, but you're not an independent voter. You're somebody who would never vote for Mr. Trump. But to somebody who's in the middle, or somebody who's maybe not a strong Democrat, when you start talking about just letting people run over here, and you start talking about gender issues and men competed in women's sports and men being in women's bathrooms, to the independent voter and the softer Democrat, that's going to matter. And that particular Democrat is going to do one of two things. They either are not going to vote Democrat and they'll vote Republican, or they won't vote at all. And so I've tried to have several conversations with people about stuff like that, making sure that they understand, yeah, the ones that are decided Democrats, it's not going to be an issue for them. But you got about 20 to 30% of those Democrats that waffle. Then you got a whole group of independents who might be another 10 to 15% of the voting electorate, or 20% of the voting electorate. And they're saying, do I vote for them? Just let them do A, B, and C, or do I say them? And because they said they're going to do something about it. And then on top of that, they say they're going to make our economy better. They're not even talking about our economy enough. What do you think people are going to do? They voted the other way. And I try to have this conversation with people, and sometimes they almost become too intellectual about it to truly understand what positioning is. If you're part of that 35, 40% that's just going to vote Democrat no matter what, great. But for you to win an election, you got to get more than the 50%. And then depending on how the electoral college is, sometimes you got to get up to between 50 and 55% of the vote, right? So how are you going to get the other 15% is what you need to be concerned with, not pleasing the 40% you already got. And people don't understand that. And that's, for the life of me, I don't understand.
So why not tell the American people, listen, we want the oil in Venezuela and we're going to go get it. And they have the contracts that they took it from us. We want it back. Why play the whole drug fentanyl when drugs is coming right into America from Colombia and Mexico? Why not just be straight?
When has he ever been straight, right? So it's one of those things where, man, they're going to want to try to legitimize what they're doing, saying that they're doing it because they're causing harm to Americans. They don't want to make it about the money and the oil. And the other issue you have is you got some people in our country, and like I try to tell you, and Mr. Trump's very smart at knowing this, they're going to support any and everything that he decides to do. And when you know that you got about a solid 35 to 40% of people that are going to support you no matter what you do, you're able to finesse that other 15% into being okay with what you're doing. Because that 35 to 40%, they're myopic. They, no matter what Mr. Trump does, if he shoots somebody, they're going to say, did you see it? I only heard it. What they're going to do is they're just going to make excuses for him. They're not going to hold him accountable because they're in this political sound chamber of Democrats are bad, Mr. Trump is good. And if you're a Democrat, sometimes it's Democrats are good, Mr. Trump is bad. And they live in that echo chamber. And there's 40% of America that sides this way, and 40% of America that sides the other way. And it's that other 20% that Trump has managed to massage and understand what that 20% wants. He's keyed in on them, and that 20% is not going to be that percent that's going to give him any consequences. And I think that's how he does what he does.
So let's take the first year of Joe Biden's presidency, and we're going to put it up against Donald Trump's first year side by side. And let's say this upcoming Friday, you put both of them side by side, pound for pound, ounce for ounce. Who is the better man looking at their first year in office, and we're comparing Donald Trump's second term, not the first.
I'm looking at Biden's situation because what I'll tell you is we were not, if we were in a conflict, now we're at least in two because we're dealing with Ukraine and we're now in Venezuela. And inflation is out of control and job loss is out of control. I mean, there are a lot of companies. I mean, I was reading where overnight one of the Amazon plants closed. I mean, these people went home off the shift, came to show up at the next shift, and it was over. So we have a substantial job loss. You're having a lot of stuff in this country where people are concerned about how we're going to move forward, and if we have the money and the resources to be able to move forward. And man, we have some serious problems out here.
Especially
and I
when
think I would take Biden's first year over Trump's first year.
Okay, very good. So now let's just touch on this whole healthcare situation with the prices going up. Many say they will skyrocket. Wouldn't the Maduro situation take away from that?
And see, that's the thing. And that's what people are concerned about. I mean, people want us to deal with the problems that we're having right now. People are losing their health care. Job loss is happening left and right. The prices continue to go up. And I'm going to tell you, I've been recently going to the store, going out to eat, paying for stuff. And man, stuff is high as hell. And I think that America's worried about that. And I think that when it comes to these Epstein files, man, people want to know what's going on. And when I think it comes to the economy, people want to know what's happening with the economy. They did not want us to become involved in another conflict. They wanted to figure out financially, what are we going to do about making sure that we're okay as Americans? And I don't think Mr. Trump right now is prioritizing it. I think he's prioritizing everything else.
Okay. A lot of those gangsters in Harlem were known to be untouchable. Would you say Donald Trump is untouchable?
Yeah, man, he's more touchable than Nicky Barnes himself. Well, even Nicky Barnes got touched, but nobody's touching him. The party that elected him doesn't have the heart to do anything. And unfortunately, I don't know if the Democratic Party right now has a heart to do anything. And we really need somebody to do something. But I am really concerned about this harnessing of power, because you have to think about this. When somebody decides that they're going to attack another country and Congress says nothing, what's going to happen when he decides, okay, my term's up, I want to run for president again? Or if I lose the election, I'm not going to accept the results. What's going to happen then?
Nothing.
And that's the concern until something happens. And see, this is the concern I have for America right now. And people need to really, really understand kind of what's going on. Something may happen, but it may not come from our government. It may just come from people, regular folks saying, no, enough's enough. And when that happens, I mean, we could become extremely unstable. I mean, we take for granted that America has a certain level of stability in their government and the peaceful exchange of power, right? I think we take the peaceful exchange of power for granted. And what I think is going to happen, eventually that exchange of power is not going to be a peaceful exchange. Somebody's going to lose an election. Somebody's going to decide that they're going to want to stay. And then that's when we'll have a problem.
I've heard some say that perhaps this is a deal between Donald Trump and Putin. Perhaps Putin is letting Donald Trump take Venezuela without incident, and then he'll just walk Ukraine right into Russia's door. Do you think this is just weak stories, or you think there could be some truth to that?
It could be some truth to it. It could be. Trump looks at Putin as a strong arm, a strong man. And he doesn't see past American presidents using the power that they have to do some of the things that Putin has done, right? And so he might want to use this power to enrich these oil companies. And you know they're giving him some kind of kickback. They're not just he's not just doing this for free. They're going to give him some kind of kickback. They're going to support him. And so these are the kind of things that we have to worry about.
This week in the media, Epstein's brother, it was revealed in an email that he had reached out to the FBI. It says, listen, I think there was some information coming out. And so Donald Trump authorized the unaliving of my brother. What do you think about that email?
See, that's the kind of thing that we think about, right? I mean, and I was just watching something this afternoon. Epstein's cellmate allegedly was somebody who had murdered 11 people. So I want you to think about that for a minute. One of the most known inmates in the jail, Jeffrey Epstein, had a roommate or a cellmate that had killed 11 people before. How does that even happen? And see, that's why when we start talking about this, and there's stories coming out, that letter talking about that when Epstein wrote Larry Nassar talking about he likes the girls, the young ones like we do. Man, I mean, is that true? Can that be verified? But when you start hearing stuff like that, and then you start hearing things like this, and then you see how our government is, you start to really question everything. Think about that for a minute.
Right. A lot of people are saying just because you're in a photo with someone doesn't mean you did something sinister. Could it just be that Donald Trump and Epstein were just bosom buddies?
And that could be true, but man, he's in a lot of photos. And in addition to that, it's just that when you tell us I wasn't friends with him and he was this bad guy, this and that, and then the more I see stuff coming out, it's like you're in a whole bunch of pictures with him, and it looked like you and Mike Johnson were trying to prevent the Epstein files from ever coming out. So when I see that kind of behavior coming out of you, and you say that, hey, I just happened to be in a picture with him, but you don't want the files to come out, makes me start to question, like, what's going on with you?
Right. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about something that I've been considering a lot over the week. We talk about it, but this is the whole incident happening with Alex Jones and Candace Owens. Alex Jones was the king of conspiracy theories. He made it popular. He probably treaded those waters before just about anyone else, at least within the internet time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's come out after Candace Owens and calling her a B, and what gives her the right to sit around and say who ate the cabbage like she knew everything. What do you think this is about? Because you're starting to see Alex Jones turn, in many cases, against Donald Trump.
And see, those are the type things that you got to worry about. And then let's talk about the elephant that's in the room. There are African Americans and people of other races that are involved in the MAGA movement and involved in conservative Republican politics. But when they speak freely, next thing you know, then that's when, oh, what gives you the right? We just let you, you company, you don't stay here. It's like one of those type of things where when you don't agree with the company line, all of a sudden you don't stay here. You're not part of the family. You married in. And it's one of those type things where you really truly start to question that. And then when you look at Alex Jones, of course, he's probably upset because he probably felt like when he was going through what he was going through, all those lawsuits and the other stuff, that Trump probably should have came to his defense. Because if you know the truth, he lost everything, and there's big judgments against him. And then if he gets any big lump of money, they're going to take it. And so you start thinking about all those type of things, and it's all about self preservation. So Alex Jones may be still mad about everything that happened with him and Trump, and he didn't get the protection he thought he should have gotten.
Right. Do you think it all boils down to money? A lot of people are saying, oh, this has something to do with Israel. Israel paying off this one and that one just to hush them up.
It could be part of that, but I think this is bigger than Israel right now, because with all the stuff that's going on, I mean, you got Epstein, you got the attack of Venezuela, you got issues inside the Republican Party. I mean, there's a lot going on at the same time, and I would really be concerned if I was an American, right? I am an American, but if I was somebody in that party with leadership, I would really be concerned about what's happening with Mr. Trump and what's going to happen next.
So when it comes to individuals like Alex Jones, you think it's basically a jealousy issue, and they see Candace Owens getting all the play, 3 million views alive.
Yeah, they do, because remember, people used to watch Alex Jones religiously. I mean, he had a whole following. Him and the Rush Limbaugh types, man, they were like, and let me bring that name up, right? Those guys had a huge following. He kind of took Rush Limbaugh's lane and opened it and widened it. And now Candace Owens kind of has a lane because she's not a Democrat, she's a Republican, but she's also one of these Republicans that want to hold the moral high ground. And when it comes to Epstein, and when it comes to Charlie Kirk, and it comes to some of the behavior of the Republican leaders, she's kind of that Republican that's kind of against the grain right now. And when you go against the grain and people are listening to you, a lot of those people who used to hold their audiences will become jealous of you.
Right. Do you think that there's any danger associated with any of this, especially from someone like Kamala? A lot of these guys, the big time conservatives, are saying she's playing a dangerous game when it comes to Israel.
Yes, she is. You got to be careful. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but look what happened to Charlie Kirk. Look what happened to Charlie Kirk, and that just did not look. I mean, she was showing videos and looked like it was guys standing behind them, and they looked like they were signaling. And I don't know how true that stuff is, but that was weird. Him getting killed in the way he did was horrific. But I would be really concerned about there being a bigger conspiracy when it came to him losing his life, and him actually speaking against her, not saying what Israel was doing wasn't right. And he had some morality about what he was saying when it came to that. So I don't know. It can be a very dangerous situation.
Right. And I saw what a coincidence in the case of Charlie Kirk. The young man, allegedly Tyler Robertson, wrote words on the bullets, right? And then with Luigi Mangione, in that particular case, there's words written on the bullets. It seems that there's an undercurrent of trends happening that are very familiar with each other in these cases, right?
Exactly. When you look at the similarities and the situations and how they were caught and what happened, you start looking at the bigger, broader picture about what's happening.
Right. So what do you think is going to happen as far as the midterm elections go? Do you think what Donald Trump has done as far as taking over Venezuela and so forth, you think he's solidified his seat and all the seats of his counterparts for the midterm elections, and perhaps he's become king, as they say at the No Kings rally?
I see it as the opposite. I think he's going to hurt his party.
Really?
If the Democrats use it properly, if they say he's more concerned about Venezuela than the economy, he's more concerned about Venezuela than your job, he's more concerned about Venezuela than your health care, they should be talking like that. Instead of talking about all this abortion and all these rights of this, that, and all that, they need to listen. I'm not saying that stuff's not important, but if they lead with the right things, then they could really come up and they could talk about his danger to the average American's rights and his danger to potentially pull us into World War III. If they use that kind of language and they use the economy and they use the violation of just regular human American rights, then that gets them a win. And I think that they're going to be smart enough to do that. I'm hoping that they're going to be smart enough to do that. And I think that it's really going to hurt the Republican Party, because the other part of it is we all see this. When somebody as their president does something like this and none of you guys say anything, if I'm an independent, I'm going like, wait a minute. His hardcore Republicans are not saying anything. I'm not even part of the hardcore group. I may have to go with the Democrats because I may not agree with everything that they're doing. But if we let him to continue to do that, we might not have any rights to do anything.
Okay, a lot of people say, well, Jesus said, because they have MAGA being synonymous with the Christian nationalists, right? Most of MAGA identify as being Christians, right? A lot of people say Jesus would have said, or he said in the scriptures, love thy neighbor as thyself. That means that he would want you to be accepting of people, whether they're Mexican, Honduran, or whatever it could be.
Yeah.
But in the Gospels, Jesus said 3 different times at least that he only came for Israel, for the lost house of Israel. So that's pretty similar to the American people only wanting to have Americans there legally. What do you think about that?
And see, that's the thing. And that's where you got to be extremely careful. Number one, we selectively use the Bible when we want to. I mean, you want to point to the Bible when it benefits your position, but you want to ignore the Bible when it doesn't. And I think we're in a very, very tough place when it comes to religion and politics. A lot of people are, especially that are looking at religion not to justify their politics anymore. They're basically saying a lot of people are fake using religion to justify their politics and justify their actions. And I think that a lot of people are really concerned about the ability for certain people and certain parties to use religion as justifications for partaking in behaviors that are unbiblical as a whole. Like, there may be errors in the Bible that support what they're doing, but they want you to ignore all the other ones that don't. And people are kind of tired of that, and people are smart enough to see that. And that's why I think we have some issues with people when it comes to the folks of faith.
Okay. Nuyabas says keep church and state separate, plain and simple.
There was a time when that was separate, but it's no longer the truth. MAGA has taken over the Christian movement. They've taken over the gospel movement, the Crystal movement, and MAGA has been, they've completely taken that movement over. And then when you have the Democrats that are trying to deal with their faith issues, because you have a lot of Democrats that are Christians, or identify themselves as Christians, but the MAGA folks see the Democrats that are Christians as anything goes, and they're not real Christians like us. And that's one thing that I had to understand, because I went to Baptist University, and there's Black Baptists and there's just regular Baptists, and I saw a lot of that even in the Baptist religion about how they viewed people that were not Southern Baptists. It was just regular Baptists. It was different. So, and I think that's why religion and politics right now need to be separated and kept separate, because to me, people are using religion to justify their positions as opposed to any foundational principles.
Now, being an attorney, you go to court, the first thing they do when a witness takes the stand is have them put their hand on the Bible and swear to the truth, right? Would you say that it's embedded into the American rules and regulations, right?
It is.
That's Christianity, right?
And we like to consider ourselves a Christian nation, but I don't think that we are. At a time, I thought we were more of one, but I don't think that we are anymore.
Because they have you swear on the Bible with the hopes that you will be honest because of your God, right?
Bingo.
But if you committed a murder, you can't go in there and argue the devil made me do it. They say you're just crazy. So why do we have a double standard in its own system?
And that's the thing. That's why I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. That's part of what people say that they have to do, but I don't think that that's authentic anymore. And I think, and we can have this conversation, this could create a whole nother topic. A religion in America does not have the power that it used to have. I think it's been diluted. I think those on the left see those on the right as using it just to get power. And I think those on the right look at those on the left as y'all are anything goes, y'all not true believers. And I think that there's a lot of that going on. And I don't think religion plays as strong as it used to play in American politics. Or if it does, it doesn't play the same role that it did.
Right. So do you think Venezuela is now the 51st state?
Yeah, man, they're gonna make Puerto Rico mad, but I think you might consider it the 51st state right now, because that's how he says he's gonna run it.
Right. You think anything's wrong with that?
I think it is, man. You got to be very careful. You take you take a leader out, basically. You bring him and his wife to this country, and you basically are going to say, hey, we're going to run it temporarily. We're going to, when people see you do stuff like this, they're going to be less likely to let you in their country. When you have people at your embassies, right, there'll be a lot of countries that decide, you know what, we're just going to spell you as your emissaries. We don't want y'all coming over here. And when you travel to that country as Americans, they're going to watch you like a hawk. And so they're going to be the long-standing ramifications when you act like this. I give you an example of those ramifications. Like you see what's happening in Las Vegas with the Canadians. The Canadians no longer go to Las Vegas like they used to. And about 15 to 20% drop in total tourism money and visitors because Canada said, no, we don't want to go to America anymore. They're doing too much. So there's going to be ramifications for everything that you do as American. We gotta pay attention and know that.
All right. So we have 300 people here or more, just at least on YouTube. Could you guys be kind enough to hit the like button, share, and subscribe? Thank you very much for that.
Let's hit some of these comments, Mel.
All right, let's get to it. I'm about to switch it up. All right. So Brian says, have no interest in reading the Quran. Okay. What do you think about that?
Hey, I definitely understand that, and that's what it's about. I mean, if you are a believer in Jesus Christ and you consider yourself a Christian, you have no wanting to read the Quran. But as a Christian, the way I look at things is that I want people to come to God on their own. I don't want to force my religion down their neck. I want them to come and be of the faith and then read the book and act on what's in that book, not use it to justify their politics. That's just me.
Okay. Jeb Common says Venezuelans are celebrating the liberation. I don't think they view the U.S. as an adversary.
I don't care about them celebrating whatever happened. I'm more concerned about our economy and what's happening to America and what ramifications this is going to have for our country. That's what I'm more concerned about. I mean, if they were happy that they're being liberated, great. But that doesn't do a darn bit of good for me in America, where a lot of people are losing their jobs. We're concerned about health care. We want our children to grow up and have job opportunities and get educated. Those things are what the average American is more concerned about. Now what's happening in Venezuela.
Okay. Tom says religion in America is prevalent since the founding of the country. That's the commonality with many Americans, Christianity, of course.
Yes, definitely. But the way that Christianity is being used and the exclusion of certain groups where you say, oh, y'all not Christian enough. We're the real Christians. And I think right now there's a real Christian versus fake Christian argument that can be had from both sides going to the other. And or selective Christianity, where you select only the parts that point to what you want to do, and you ignore the parts that disagree with what you're doing. So that's a very, very interesting approach and argument that person made. I definitely understand that, though.
Okay, all right. Tom says partially true. Some Venezuelans view it as U.S. aggression,
and some do view it as U.S. aggression. Some are happy that it's happened. But like I said before, I am not concerned about how Venezuela feels right now. I'm more concerned about how it's going to affect America, how it's going to affect our citizens, and is it going to help us stop this job loss? Is it going to help things be more affordable? Is it going to help us as a whole? And I don't know if it's going to do that.
Okay, Blockchain says these things trickle down. The U.S. just made a power play. Wake up.
I get it. You make a power play, but there's an action, there's a reaction. There's always going to be positive and negative consequences. I hope these negative consequences that happen don't end up hurting us in the end too bad.
Jason says, what is a Christian?
And that's a very good question nowadays. A lot of Christians are not the Christians of old. Today's Christians view their politics as being part of their religion, which when you really look into Christianity, that's not supposed to be the case. Your faith is supposed to lead, your politics comes behind that. Today's Christian uses Christianity to justify their politics, and they will put their politics above the Christianity. And that's very unfortunate, but that's the truth nowadays.
Okay, very good. Clippy says, yeah, it'll trickle down to Israel's pockets, into Israel's pockets.
Very well, may well. Who knows?
Okay, all right. We also have, let's see, Adam says, you should be concerned about the control of the largest oil reserve in the world, Venezuela.
And that's the thing. When you go take somebody's property like that, it's going to have ramifications. It's not just going to be positive. The rest of the world's looking at this, so we need to be extremely careful.
Eddie said, I paid $2.10 for gas today here in South Carolina, and yesterday it was $2.40, declining down.
Hey, I get it. Hey, great for those gas prices, but let's just hope that it doesn't affect us in other ways.
Okay, Stella says, like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications to be notified of upcoming shows. Okay, thank you very much for that. Solid work. Blockchain says, these things trickle down. The U.S. made a power play. Wake up.
I get it. Yeah, we wake up and we made a power play, but I mean, like I said, all of that is going to have ramifications. History says everything's not going to be positive either. So I just hope these negative ramifications don't cost us.
Okay, all right. Pat says, fear-mongering fool.
Well, fear-mongering fool. I don't understand what that means, but at the end of the day, when you go in and take somebody's property, you take another country's oil, and you're doing it just to take their oil as opposed to it being about drugs. You got to be extremely careful when you do that. We could end up in a war, you know? Now, I'm not afraid to fight for our country, but we have a president, Colonel Bonespur, who did not do that and would not do that and thinks our military people that fight for our country are fools. He's even said it out of his mouth at times. So when you start doing stuff that could put us in that kind of particular conflict, yeah, I worry. I really, really worry about that.
Okay, Adam says, I guess you are okay with Venezuela sending the cheap oil to China and Russia.
Yeah, I am. Okay. At the end of the day, I would love for them to send it to us, but it's their country. It's their natural resource. They can do what they want to do with it.
Okay. Christian says, Democrats cry a lot.
Well, what some consider crying, it's considering sounding an alarm. It's not about you crying a lot. When you see something that could affect the rest of the country and affect history, who knows what's going to happen? We'll see.
Okay. Devoice says, best president of our lifetime.
Well, that's how you view it. If your situation has gotten better under him, that's great. But it's not even the end of year one yet. So we've only got a year in so far. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Blockchain says, we're good. You're supposed to have faith.
Have faith in who? I mean, you can have faith, but then too, you got to use your common sense. There are going to be situations where you do something like this. History says that there are going to be ramifications and there are going to be consequences.
Okay. Blockchain says the old system must be broken to bring in the new one.
Hey, you know what? I can't disagree with that. You got to bring in a new system, but who says what that new system is going to be and if it's going to work? Just because you try something different doesn't mean it's going to work. But it's interesting. That's an interesting point of view.
Pat says Democrats manufacture delusion.
Hey, what I say to that is, to me, delusion is where you're so supporting one person that you can't make a common sense critique of that person. And I think that happens a lot over in MAGA world. And it happens a lot with some of the Democrats too. But right now, there's a delusion in terms of everything that a particular person does is the right way. It's the right thing. And anything that speaks against that is corrupt. Not because I've thought about it. It's because I trust this guy, this one person, to do the right thing regardless. And I'm not going to think for myself. And I think there are a lot of people over right now in MAGA world that operate that way. And I think that's concerning.
Okay, 400 people. We only have 65 likes. If we could get the likes up. Mashona says, don't forget to turn on your notifications and subscribe to the channel. Okay, Tom says, In fact, Calvin, I'll put this up for you to consider.
All right. You don't understand the magnitude of the potential greatness of the U.S. Soft power in Latin America country up in the air, of course. I do understand that, but you got to understand that when you do something like this, the rest of the world is watching. We're only a domino now. We're a big domino in the effect, but when a big domino drops like this, it's not going to always be positive. And what history tells me, there's going to be certain actions by certain folks that are going to be different that can affect all of us over a longer period of time. The jury's still out on what he just did, and you need to be smart enough to know that we got to see what's going to happen.
One Love says, so basically Calvin is okay with BRICS?
Well, if they decide that they're going to have some kind of organization that's going to protect their interests, I can't be mad at them for doing that. That's just common sense. We have to protect our interests, and I get that. Right now, Mr. Trump feels like taking their oil, using it, and just going in and deboing them for their oil is the best route to take. And, well, he's elected, and his party's not saying anything about it, so I'm kind of powerless along with other people to do anything about it. But just realize that there are going to be consequences for whatever happens when we do that.
Okay, there's a comment for you up top from her.
And it says, when U.S. petrol companies take over Venezuela oil, it will be sold to international markets and not benefit the average American. This was an action for the benefit of billionaires and not you. Great point. See, this is the kind of stuff I talk about. These billionaire oil companies, they're not passing down the profit to average Americans. They're actually, what they'll do with the oil right now is they'll actually release a certain amount to make sure that the prices stay high, because they don't want the prices to be too low, because prices are too low, then they make less profit. In addition to that, they don't want to help the average American. Some of them will see this profit coming, and they may even lay some people off so they can continue to get the money that they're going to get.
Okay. Co-sider says, I saw a poll today where people in Venezuela were asked if they support Trump's intervention. Only 3% said they do.
And see, that's the thing. That's the thing to be concerned about. You got to pay attention.
You think that's true? Sound right to you?
Only 3% support? No, I think there's more that to support his intervention, because a lot of them were starving because of Maduro. I think there's more than that supported, but I think they also see that when you have another country coming in doing this, that can be dangerous as well. So that's what I see about that.
Okay. Do you think, let me ask you a question from a Democratic point of view real quick. Do you think that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer should have been gone a long time ago?
I think that should have been. Because it gets to a point where your type of leadership is not something that we may need at a particular time. It's great that you're in there. You're in it for a long time. But I think that you got to be careful with that kind of leadership, because it can get old and stale and not know what's the new things that the new things need to be dealt with, or the new tactics that you may need to use to actually get things done. So that's very, very important.
Okay, very good. All right. Let's see here. Clippy says, just ask Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, how nice it is when the U.S. delivers freedom. I'm glad Maduro is gone, but I don't think it was our job to do it.
And see, that's the thing too. Was it our job to go in and do that? And how will it affect America long term? Not just short term, but long term. And that's something that you got to start thinking about, when you look at what just happened.
Okay. Guy says church and state should be separate.
They should be.
Okay. Let's see. BB says they have hijacked and ruined what Democrats used to mean, I guess.
Yeah. I think the way that we think of the past Democrats and Republicans, I think that's gone. There used to be a lot of moderate Democrats and moderate Republicans, or conservative Democrats and more toward the middle Republicans. And I think the lane for that is gone. And I think because that lane is gone, I think that's why we're hurting now, because sometimes that in between 15, 20, 25% was the voice of reason, and that's gone. Everybody's either far left or far right.
Okay.
And I think our enemies or people we disagree with have become our enemies instead of countrymen that just disagree with us.
Okay. Lewis says when America was founded, it was originally founded on Christian beliefs.
I could say that may have been true. That may have been true. I could say that probably was. But, you got other things that were going on at that time were not Christian, like slavery and, some of the other things that were going on. I don't think that those were Christian ideas completely. I think for the most part they were, but they were also involved in some things that were not Christian. And that actually kind of sums up what's happening now. History is repeating itself.
Co-sider says the United States Senate has signaled their intentions to stop Trump.
Signaled, like, what are they going to do? They refused. The majority of them have refused to stand up against him ever. So I'm supposed to believe that they're going to stand up against him now. I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay, very good. I can't go backwards here. Okay, here we go. W12 says nobody was saying anything when under the Obama administration invaded Pakistan and assassinated a different person who had a warrant.
Osama bin Laden was different. He took our towers down. He was actually working to blow us up some more. It's a whole different situation. That wasn't for money. That was for our safety. Our immediate safety.
Okay. Jeb Common says liberated Venezuela banned trans from girls' bathrooms and sports.
Hey, I understand what you're saying there, but we'll see what happens with Venezuela. And when it comes to banning the trans in sports, I think girls should be playing against girls and boys should be playing against boys. That's just that. None of that. What you identify with sports kind of stuff. I'm not with that. I'm point blank. I'm just telling you. But at the same time, how important is that anyway in our span of life? I'm more concerned about a boy playing a girl sport, or more concerned about my human rights, my ability to be able to afford to live here, my ability to be able to live in a country that's not ran by a dictator. Those are things that are also important to me, more important than somebody playing a girl's sports that happens to be a guy. So it depends on what level that you're talking about.
Having people to unite, do you think it's just a pipe dream or do you think it's possible? And if so, what would be the means?
I think it's almost impossible. I think the only way people will unite is if they really consider somebody taking too much power and trying to basically 100% control them. That might unite people, but outside of that, I don't think we care enough about each other. When you saw what happened to Charlie Kirk, you had half people didn't really give a damn about what happened to him. When you see what happened to George Floyd, you had another half of people that didn't give a damn about what happened to him. And those are the type things in America where we become desensitized to other people's pain until it happens to somebody who looks like us. And that's very, very sad. And I think that's one of the things that when people ask me, are we able to unite? I'm able to respond that we might not be able to.
W. Willis says, what happened after Noriega was captured?
Noriega's situation was a little bit different because you had somebody that, number one, we basically installed him in the power. So if you want to talk about Noriega, we can have another conversation. But we installed him in the power, and he became somebody that we could not control, and so they took him out. So it was a problem that we created by placing him in there. I don't know if that's the situation with Maduro, but we created a situation upon which Noriega was in power. And not only did we create the situation, we basically used Noriega and the fight to get him out to poison a lot of low-income African-American neighborhoods in Los Angeles and other places across this country with crack cocaine. So if you want to have that Noriega conversation, that's a whole other conversation within itself.
Okay, so Roasted says, so what do you suggest? Not doing anything?
You don't go in and take their country over. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think maybe you deal with them with sanctions, you deal with them other ways, but you do not go in and do what you just did. I don't think that that's the proper approach in this particular situation, because I think that's going to set us up for some things down the road that we are not going to like. Just to
Okay.
make a bunch of billionaire oil barons more money and not even pass that stuff down to us. That's just my attitude about that.
Okay. There's a comment up top for you.
ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips are owed billions by Venezuela due to asset seizures and contract disputes under Hugo Chavez. Hey, I get it. They probably do. But they're not hurting for any money. They have plenty of money. In addition to that, do you want to go in and take over an entire country? Take all of their oil? And then say you're going to run their country? I don't know if that's what America wants to do right now. I think we got bigger fish to fry in America itself.
Okay. All right. Jeb Common says that Epstein basically donated millions to Clinton's and Schumer campaigns.
He gave to everybody. He gave to Trump. He gave to Schumer. He gave to Republicans. He gave to Democrats. He gave to independents. Epstein's money went to everybody. So let's just be real. Like, let's not be myopic. And see, those are the kind of comments where I go, listen, he took pictures with Clinton and Trump. He was probably cool with both of them. So he gives money. He gave money to everybody. So let's not act like this is a one-sided thing. Look, don't be so myopic. Like, be serious. Just being honest.
Okay. There's a comment for you up top.
It's amazing how many people hung up people ignore all the important issues in this troubled world and go to the back to their gender, sexual insecurities to focus and rant. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in this world. Like I said, when it comes to what's happening in the gender world, maybe that's not as important to me as paying my bills, as making sure I have a job, making sure my wife has a job, making sure people have what they need to have, right? As a regular person, that's where people or a regular individual who is married is going to say, hey, do I have a job? Do my wife have a job? Can my daughter do this? Can my daughter do? The average American with a family is going to think about that, right? So are we worried about some of the gender stuff? Somewhat, but we're more concerned about our ability to make a living and raise our children in this economy. And that's what I think the average American looks at.
Okay. Candyman, we would like to have you come up and chat at some point. Definitely send me an email so we could chat with you. I think you and Calvin would have a great discussion as well. Candyman says, we are not taking over their country. We are making it safe for future government to take over a peaceful transfer of power. That isn't the first time we have done this to a nation.
I think you're gullible if that's what you think is happening. I mean, let's be honest, have a real conversation. I think that if you think that Mr. Trump, who is a businessman, is going to go in and look at that and just peacefully hand over a country to somebody else without ensuring that he and the people that he know are going to financially benefit from it, I think you're gullible if you think that that's true.
Okay. All right. So, what do you foresee happening in regards to Congress when it comes to what's happening in Venezuela? You think they'll just look the other way, or should we expect them to take drastic measures in regards to Maduro?
I think they'll look the other way. I think a lot of them are more concerned about midterms that are coming up and that they might not get elected. I don't think they're going to pick a fight with Mr. Trump right now because they know that those MAGA folks are going to want to support him. They're going to be more concerned about them being reelected. I think his own party is going to sweep it under the rug and they're just going to keep trucking. That's what I honestly think.
Okay. Candyman says, I think previous presidents have done the same thing for many years, Calvin.
I think that has happened in some situations, but this situation is a little different because of the times that we're living in and the current situation that we're in. I mean, you got where the whole world, because of the information technology highway that we're on, saw you go in and basically bomb another leader's country, take them out of power, and fly them back to your country to be tried. That's a very serious something. That's very serious. That's something that's happening, and I think that's very. When you look at everything, you see how everything is happening. I mean, there are going to be consequences that come from that, and we got to pay attention to those types of things.
I feel like that Venezuela, if they didn't have the oil, I don't think the United States would have went in like that. So a lot of people are saying Cuba is next, and some are saying Colombia. Do you think that could be true?
Cuba needs to be careful because I think they've kind of been on the snide for the longest because a lot of people look at Cuba as being too close to us not to control. Colombia, I don't see them going in there dealing with that. That's a whole nother monster within itself. But I think Cuba right now needs to be extremely careful.
Okay. I posted a reaction video of a senator out of Oklahoma. I just want to ask you a couple questions. She was stopped because she ran through two stop signs. She did not come to a complete stop. She did what they, rolling. And then the officer said she was speeding, but he didn't give her a citation for that. He ended up putting her in the police car, handcuffed and so forth. She was very contentious, almost trying to litigate him on side the road. Being that she's a senator, do you think I know you didn't see the video perhaps, but after all of that is said and done, do you think a senator could just somehow influence him being fired?
I think that they can. I think that they can. When you start messing with very powerful people like that and you start doing what you did, I think they can influence him being fired. And he may not get fired right now, but down the line, he's going to get ostracized. He's going to have a problem. When you do something like that, over running a stop sign in today's world, where people feel entitled, I think that could be a problem for him, especially in a place like Oklahoma.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He might be afraid for his job for a while.
Right. What about in cases, let's say a person is just high up in government, period. Is there a such thing as they're untouchable, or everybody pretty much has to show up to court and go through the same process?
Everybody has to show up in court and go through the same process. But I had to learn that there are things that happen in the background. You get on the wrong side of folks, you could have some problems because the power that be, they got there for a reason. There are levels to this, right? So even though maybe 2 or 3 levels above you, there are people that are in that power structure that have relationships with some of the people that get in trouble. And so they're going to make sure that they use whatever discretion they have to go light on that person to make things go away. That's how the world works. We need to quit acting like that this stuff doesn't happen in America. We can be the worst at it at times.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much. We reached our time. I just wanted to see if you had any good words of encouragement for everyone before we end the show.
Whatever we're going through in America right now, we have to go through it. I mean, we see what happened with Mr. Trump and what he's doing with Venezuela. And it may look good for now. And a lot of people may feel like he's justified in doing so because he is the president of the United States and he won the election. But with that being said, I think we need to be very careful because there are long-running consequences and ramifications of his actions. And you got to start paying attention to that. And you got to understand that each action is going to have a reaction. And we don't know how well this is going to be received. In addition to that, in America, we have our own problems. Unemployment rates are going up. People are losing jobs. AI is causing job loss. Medical insurance is expiring. Tax cuts are going to the rich. People are saying houses are becoming unaffordable. And people can't go get educations with these student loan restrictions that are there now. We have to really pay attention to what we're doing because the way that America has been viewed in the past, America will not be viewed as the same before. There's going to be a lot of apprehension with doing business with us and dealing with us in certain situations. So we need to understand that. And last but not least, please, if you're a Stone Cold Democrat or if you're Stone Cold MAGA, think for yourself for once. Don't just say because this person is my guy that I support everything that they do. You should understand that everything that your guy does, whether what side you're on, is going to affect you. Think for yourself and do realistic critiques about people's actions as opposed to being myopic and just supporting a person just because they're in your tribe. Because eventually, we're all going to pay for that. We appreciate you for tuning in. We want to be a place where you can come have your opinions, but we're going to tell the truth on our show. And we're going to try to be down the middle as much as possible because we want regular folks to come in and have great conversations with us. We're all Americans and we wish you the best. And please continue to tune in to the weekly legal review with Mel and Calvin, 6 p.m. Texas time, 7 p.m. New York time, every Sunday night. Thank you.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.